out of the shower, as you can tell. I actually just got done cleaning out a portion of my garage for a home gym that I'm turning into, and that's another vlog that should have been posted by now, so I'll link that here if you're interested. But I'm definitely one of those people that once I get into a creative mode, I don't want to stop and I just want to like keep creating. So I figured I might as well get on here and record another video for you guys. And it's a video that is a long time coming, which is what happened and like how my experience was coming off of hormonal birth control after 10 years. You can see I changed the scenery a little bit today. This is our bedroom. It's actually like clean for once. So that's why I wanted to do it here. Plus I'm all like comfy, cozy, and pretty tired as well. So I got on hormonal birth control when I was 17 years old. It was right before I turned 18. So it was almost 18, but technically I was 17. And I went on it because I was taught, like I'm pretty sure everybody else here in sex ed, that being on hormonal birth control, the pill, was pretty much the only way to safely avoid pregnancy. And you know, other forms of protection like barrier methods were talked about, but they were always talked about with the caveat of them not being as effective. And sex ed really drilled into my head that getting pregnant was horrible and awful and terrible, which I'm sure as a teenager it can be, but I carried that mindset into my adult life, to be honest, and I am just now starting to overcome the fear of getting pregnant. I'm 27 years old. So I was on hormonal birth control for obviously 10 years, and my experience with it was honestly pretty great. I was one of the lucky few that didn't really have any adverse reactions to hormonal birth control. My sister had really bad reactions to it, but I was lucky enough where I didn't, and I found one that worked for me pretty quickly, and I was on the same brand of hormonal birth control even for the majority of my time that I was taking it. And I never missed a single pill. I had a reminder set in my calendar for every night at 6 p.m. to take it. I never missed a single pill, and I just always had the comfort of knowing that I was protected. Now, where things started to go downhill was actually last year in 2022. That's when I really started to notice patterns around certain parts of my cycle during the month where I would fall into really, really bad depressive episodes. And I'm sure that was in conjunction with the fact that we had just moved to Colorado. We were in an Airbnb, we didn't have a home yet, and there was a lot of other external factors going on. But I started thinking at that time that maybe I should come off of hormonal birth control. It's been a long time. And I also had started following a lot of wonderful creators on Instagram who talk about training in the gym in accordance with your cycles and how to live with your, plan your social events around your cycle and just kind of work your life around your cycles, because and I just started educating myself a lot more on like what actually a whole entire cycle looks like. And that is kind of when I found out that when you are on the hormonal birth control pill, you don't ovulate, and your period that you get isn't an actual period. And that's something that like blew my mind because I never knew that. I was never taught that. That wasn't something that was talked to me about when I was getting the speech of going on the hormonal birth control pill. And when I think back to it, actually, I don't think anybody ever talked to me about getting, like when I went to the doctor to get my pill, they were just like, okay, here you go. Like there was no conversation to be had about the possible side effects, the repercussions, the long-lasting effects, and what it does to your body and your hormones for the duration that you're on it. And so last year I really started educating myself more on what my body and what a woman's body and hormones kind of look like through a normal menstrual cycle when she's not on the hormonal birth control pill. And I started realizing the negative effects that that birth control pill can have on my body, that I have been suppressing my hormones, that I have never really been in tune with my body because of it, and that a lot of my mood swings that I'd had really throughout the past 10 years, I've felt so like volatile and impassioned, that those were a side effect of the birth control pill. And I always just thought, oh, that's who I am. Like, I'm just a testy person, and I'm just, I have really high highs and I have really low lows, and that's just me. And it could be just you as a person if you're experiencing that as well. But since coming off of the birth control pill, I have realized that that's not me. And so in June of last year, so June of 2022, that's when I officially came off of the hormonal birth control completely. And I switched to natural cycles as a form of birth control. That's where you take your temperature, your basal body temp every single morning. And based off of your basal body temp and the algorithm, it'll tell you if you're fertile or not fertile that day. And that was my main concern, obviously, coming off of hormonal birth control, was avoiding pregnancy still. Once I got over that fear once I got confident that I could avoid pregnancy without being on the birth control pill, I really started to embrace not being on hormones anymore. Some of the immediate effects that I noticed coming off of the hormonal birth control was I felt so much more level-headed and stable throughout the month. And that was something that took me by surprise. Again, because I just always thought I was a super testy, like volatile person. I just thought that was my personality. And I realized I'm much more level and stable without the birth control pill. And that was kind of wild for me to think about. And then I also felt a lot more energized as well. Like, I felt a lot more steady level of energy throughout the day. Beforehand, when I was on the pill, normally around 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon, I would kind of like feel like I'm done for the day and be kind of tired and just don't really want to deal with anybody, and super, super irritable. To my surprise, one of the side effects that I didn't experience after coming off of birth control was an irregular period. My period has actually been so regular since coming off of it. Even within that first month of coming off, I have a 28-day cycle, plus or minus a day, I think. And I've been tracking my cycle for just over 6 months now, and I'm still a 28-day cycle, give or minus a day, which is super strange to me because I think the statistic is something like only 13% of women actually have a 28-day cycle. So that was something I definitely was not anticipating at all. And I was really nervous, to be frank, about my periods, about having a real period, because both my mom and my sister have PCOS. And so I was fairly confident that I also have PCOS, and I'm fairly confident that I do. I was a little scared for my periods, and I had a right to be, because they have definitely been more painful than when I was on the pill. I think that's to be expected though, because a lot of the times too, women get on the pill because it helps them with their periods. And so coming off of it, I definitely have more extreme cramps. There have been a couple times in the past few months where my cramps were so bad, I literally thought I was going to throw up. And so they've been hard that way. Usually for the first day or two is the worst. But my period is actually shorter than when I was on the pill. When I was on the pill, I consistently had a 5 to 7 day period. And coming off of the pill, I consistently have like a 3 to 5 day period, which was another kind of oxymoron. Usually the opposite is supposed to happen. So that was kind of a nice surprise, but it may be shorter, but it packs a punch. Anyway, so because of that pain that I have, and then I also got my blood drawn and I have high testosterone, I'm pretty sure I have PCOS. However, I went to the doctor to see if I could get a ultrasound on my ovaries, and I was basically denied that because they said I only have one of the 3 factors of PCOS, and you need 2 in order to have an ultrasound. So the one factor I had was high testosterone, but the other 2 are intense cramps on only one side, which could indicate cysts on the ovaries or on one particular ovary, or irregular periods. And so since I only had high testosterone and my intense pain is kind of everywhere, it's not really focused on one side or the other, but I have a super regular period, they basically were like, yeah, we can assume you have PCOS, but we can't confirm it. We can't give you an ultrasound because you only have one of the 3 factors. So that kind of stinks, but I also met with a hormone specialist afterwards who looked at my hormones and kind of also determined that I may indeed have PCOS just from like genetically, but it's more likely that I have PCOS induced by post-birth control syndrome. And post-birth control syndrome is something I did not know existed. And that is when you come off of the hormonal birth control cold turkey, which is what I did. I didn't wean myself off. I just finished my last pack and was like, okay, I'm done. You can get post-birth control syndrome afterwards, which is when you can get PCOS and you can get digestive issues, really bad cramps, really bad hormonal acne, depressive episodes, a few other things as well. I haven't experienced the depressive episodes, thankfully, but I have experienced, obviously, the PCOS-like symptoms and the hormonal acne really badly. I don't know if you can tell, but I have it like really bad up and down my neck and my jaw right now. It's been something that I've been battling for the past 6 months, and post-birth control syndrome can last 6 months to a year after you come off of hormonal birth control. So I'm a little bit over 6 months of coming off of it now. So I'm hoping that things will start to cool off a little bit. Those have been the biggest challenges coming off of birth control. Was one, just getting over my mental fear of not having the security of being on hormonal birth control. That honestly was the biggest and hardest one for me, and that ended up being the first one to go away, the first one for me to get over. It was the hardest one for me to get over, but it was the first one for me to get over, because just growing up had been so ingrained in me that the pill is the only way to avoid pregnancy, even though we all know it's not, and other methods are quite effective. In fact, the Natural Cycles hormone-free birth control that I've been using since June, and I've been using it in conjunction with the Oura Ring, which I did a whole entire video on that. You can see that up here as well. That is 98% effective with perfect use, and it's FDA cleared, and it's birth control tracking app, and I love that. It's worked so wonderful. And then obviously barrier methods as well, and that's obviously worked great. Not pregnant yet. I think that psychological fear factor for me was the hardest one to get over, but I did get over that. And once I got over that, then the hardest things were how painful the cramps are on my first day of my period. I literally have to take like 6 to 8 ibuprofen. It is that bad. And then the third and most lasting one right now is the acne, which I am experiencing, and I'm also like a picker and I touch my face a lot, which doesn't help, and I know it doesn't help, but it's really hard to not do it. So that's something I'm working on doing too. And I don't have any regrets about coming off of hormonal birth control. In fact, I really, really wish I had done it sooner, because I am learning so much more about my body now, and I'm learning so much more about what I feel like during each phase of my cycle. And the natural next step for me is to start training in the gym according to my cycle. So you're supposed to do different workouts depending on if you're in your follicular, luteal, or like ovulatory phase, or your menstrual, or like when you're menstruating, and you're supposed to be doing different workouts for each one of those phases. And that's something I really want to focus on and emphasize next, because I feel like that's just the natural next step for me in focusing on my holistic health and kind of getting back in tune with my body. And that is the biggest benefit, I think, is feeling like myself again and feeling in tune with my body. because I started birth control when I was 17 years old, and I wasn't fully developed. And so I never experienced what it was like to be in tune with my body. I never experienced what it was like to listen to my body. I never knew what it felt like to experience all of these hormones throughout a month. And so I just thought I just never experienced that. And so it's been really, really nice getting to experience those things and learn more about those things and be like, oh, these are normal things. This is an actual, this is an actual scientific thing that happens. And if anything, it's just made me be more in awe of the woman's body, because the things that our body does is just, it's wild. It is wild to me. And it's also made me realize how wild it is that a man doesn't go through these same changes every month. I look at my husband and I'm like, your hormones are just at a steady state the whole month. What is that about? What is that like? So it's been an adventure. There's one thing I will say too, is if you are in a committed relationship and you're considering coming off of hormonal birth control, talk to your partner about it. I assume most people would, but it was a long conversation I had with my husband, just kind of letting him know, expressing my own fears about it, and then also letting him know, hey, if I do decide to come off of hormonal birth control, I'm gonna really need your support in probably more ways than one. He's been really great about it. So, and he's been so helpful, very understanding and caring. Yeah, that's kind of my experience coming off of it. I'm still working on the acne part. If I ever get that figured out, I'll definitely share with you guys. If you have any tips for how to deal with hormonal acne as a result of coming off of birth control, please, please, please drop them down below, because I would love to give anything a try for that. So please let me know. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions about natural cycles, please comment that below as well. I would love to answer those. I've been using them for 7 months now and I absolutely love it. It just makes my life so easy. I am just very happy and grateful and thankful to be coming back into my body and figuring things out, being in tune, listening to my body, and be in a position where I'm more comfortable with my body now, probably more than ever. Thanks for being here. If you like this video, please comment and subscribe. I plan to do a lot more health, fitness-y type of videos in the future. That's kind of a big part of my life. So you might want to stick around and see those. In the meantime, thanks for being here and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye!